Hello students, welcome to your business studies class. Today we will be discussing capital structure from chapter number 9, financial management. The meaning of capital structure. Now we have studied in class 11th also that we basically the sources of various, we classify the business finances, we classify them on the basis of time period, we classify them on the basis of ownership. So when we classify them on the basis of ownership, we have studied that we classify them into owners fund and borrowed funds, right? So owners fund is your equity share capital, preference share capital, reserves and surpluses, and the retained earning, that is your equity. Borrowed fund is your loans plus debentures and your public deposit, that is your debt. So capital structure is what? It is a mix of your long-term sources of funds. The capital structure decision basically relates to the financing pattern or the proportion of use of different sources in raising funds. There are mainly two major long-term sources of funds: shareholders funds, that is your equity, and borrowed fund, that is your debt. So capital structure refers to the proportion of debt and equity used for financing the operations of a business. So in other words, we can say that it is a mix between owners fund and borrowed fund. So that means when we combine this, your owners fund and borrowed fund, so the thing that comes out is your capital structure. So we know that our capital structure is a mixture of equity plus debt, and the optimal capital structure is a combination of debt and equity that maximizes the market value of shares of that company and ultimately maximizes the shareholders' wealth, which is the aim of, or which is the primary objective of, financial management. So let me just repeat this line, that is, the optimal capital structure is that combination of debt and equity that maximizes the market value of shares of the company, that is ultimately increasing the shareholders' wealth, maximizing the shareholders' wealth, the primary objective of the financial management. Now the next important term that we will be discussing is the financial leverage. Now leverage, we all know, means use something to the maximum advantage. Now financial leverage means the proportion of debt in the overall capital structure. So in your overall capital structure, what is the proportion of debt? So that is what your financial leverage is, which is also called as your trading on equity or capital gearing. Now we know that cost of funds is equals to cost of debt plus cost of equity. So as financial leverage increases, cost of funds decline as debt is a cheaper source of funds, as it refers to use of any source of long-term fund that carry a fixed rate of interest to increase the earnings available to equity shareholders. So the reason for this higher earning per share with debt are, that means when there is a proportion of debt, when there is a more proportion of debt in your capital structure, so it is likely said that the earning per share of the equity shareholders are higher. Why? The reasons are, first, the rate of return on investment is more than the cost of debt, because we know that debt is a cheaper source, so the rate of return on investment is more than the cost of debt. Then interest paid on debt is tax deductible. We all know that it is tax deductible, and so there is a saving on the amount of income tax that company will require to pay. And the number of shares is lesser when funds are raised as debt, and as divisible profit, that is EAT here means earning after tax, will have to be distributed among lesser number of shares. So when we have raised more amount from debt, so that means when we will be distributing our profits, earning after tax, that will be distributed amongst the lesser number of shareholders. Now, use of financial leverage, however, involves a risk to equity shareholders also. As we had discussed that the financial leverage is the proportion of debt in the overall capital structure, and the increase in the increase in the proportion of debt tends to increase the profit earned by the shareholders, but there is a condition because even if there is a small change in EBIT, here EBIT means earning before interest and tax, will cause a great changes in the earning per share and return on equity. So we had discussed the term trading on equity, which means that increase in profit earned by the shareholders due to the presence of fixed financial charges like interest. That means when there is an increase in the profit earned by the shareholders, by because of the presence of fixed financial charges like interest. So thus the benefit of trading on equity are available only when the following conditions are satisfied. First is that there has to be that the rate of earning is higher than the rate of interest on debt. That means whatever interest on debt you are paying should be less than your earnings. Then the company earnings are stable, are regular to pay at least the interest on debentures. There are sufficient fixed assets to offer as securities to lenders. And now there is a formula to compute the financial leverage, that is debt upon equity, or as the proportion of debt in the capital, that is debt upon debt plus equity, that is your capital structure. So again I am repeating that trading financial leverage is the proportion of debt in the capital structure, and trading on equity is increase in profit earned by the shareholders due to the presence of fixed financial charges like interest. Now, in order to prove that the shareholders of a company are likely to gain with the debt component in the capital employed, now we will take the following example. Okay, now in this example, it says that a company requires 30 lakh to finance its operations. Now, the expected rate of return is 15% and the tax rate, that the taxes that they are paying, is 30%. So, financing options are, option number 1, that is your plan A, is equity shares at rupees 10 per share. That means we have assumed in plan A that entire 30 lakhs have been raised by issuing equity shares. So no debt in the first plan A. Plan B says that equity shares at 10 per share and debt 10% per annum. That means interest on debt is 10% per annum. So in this situation, we are assuming that we are raising 20 lakhs from equity and 10 lakhs from debt. In plan C, we are assuming that we are raising 10 lakh from equity and 20 lakh from debt. So you can see that in plan A, there is no proportion of debt, that is entire fund is raised through equity. In plan B, most of that means 20 lakh out of 30 lakh, 20 lakh is raised from equity and the proportion of debt is less, that is rupees 10 lakh only. And in plan C, the proportion of debt is more, that is 20 lakh, and the proportion of debt is equity is less, that is rupees 10 lakh. So the total capital employed in plan A, plan B and plan C is 30 lakhs each. Now we have to calculate the earning per share. Okay, so let's say the earning before interest and tax is given to you, that is rupees 4,50,000. So EBIT, that is earning before interest and tax, is given to you 4,50,000 in all the cases. Okay, now we will calculate the earning before interest and tax, that is the capital employed, into rate of return. So rate of return is given to you, that is 15%. So EBIT in all the cases is 15% of 30 lakh, that is 4,50,000. Okay, now first in EBIT, that is earning before interest and tax, first we will deduct the interest. So now in situation 1, plan A, because we have not raised any fund from the debt, so there are no interest that we have to pay, so nil. In plan B, we have raised 10 lakhs from debt, so that means 10% of 10 lakh is 1 lakh. And in plan B, we have raised 20 lakhs, that is 10% of 20 lakhs is 2 lakh. So we will be getting earning before taxes because we have deducted interest from the same. So 4,50,000 minus nil, so 4,50,000 is your earning before tax in plan A, 3,50,000 in plan B and 2,50,000 in plan C. So this is your earning before taxes. Now we will deduct taxes. So that is taxes we have been given 30%. So 30% of EBT, that is 4,50,000, so 1,35,000. So in plan A, we are paying 1,35,000 as a tax. In plan B, we are paying 1,05,000 as a tax. In plan C, we are paying 75,000 as a tax. So can you see here the difference, that in plan A, we are paying more taxes because there is no proportion of debt. So we are not saving anything from taxes. In plan B, we are paying lesser amount as compared to plan A because we have a 10 lakh proportion as a debt. And in plan C, we are paying only 75,000 rupees. So as the proportion of debt increases, your tax liability also decreases. Now the earning after tax in plan A is 3,15,000, in plan B is 2,45,000, and in plan C is 1,75,000. This is your earning after tax. Now number of shares in plan A is now 30 lakh shares, 10 rupees per share. So that means 3 lakh shares we have issued. So in plan A it is 3 lakhs, in plan B it is 2 lakhs, and in plan C it is 1 lakh. So now earning per share ka formula is earning after taxes divided by number of shares. So 3 lakh divided earning after taxes is 3,15,000 divided by 3 lakh. So we will get rupees 1.05. 2,45,000 divided by 2 lakh, we will get 1.225, and 1,75,000 divided by 1 lakh, we will be getting 1.75. So we can see that the earning per share increases with the increase in the proportion of debt. So in plan A, the earning per share of the shareholders is only rupees 1.05. In plan B, it increases to 1.225, and in plan C, it is 1.75. So in this example, we can see that plan C has a higher EPS as tax paid is least in plan C as compared with the tax paid in A and B. So rate of return on investment is 15%, is more than the cost of debt. Okay, so what is this? That means whatever returns we are getting is more than whatever we are paying. And the number of shareholders under plan C is only 1 lakh, whereas in plan A it is 3 lakh, and in plan B it is 2 lakh. So we can see that as the proportion of debt increases in the capital structure, so the earning per share of the shareholders also increases. Now let's discuss this another example where everything is same, just the expected rate of return is 5% here, whereas in example number 1 it was 15%, and the debt interest that we are paying on debt is 10%. So we can see here that the rate of return is less than the rate we are paying as an interest to our creditors, right? So everything is same. We will again calculate the EBIT. Now EBIT is 5% of 30 lakhs, that is 1,50,000 in each cases. Now interest, first we will minus the interest. So in plan A, again no debt, no funds are raised from debt, so nil. In plan B it is 1 lakh, in plan C it is 2 lakh. Then EBT, that is in earning before tax, in plan A it is 1,50,000. Okay, so 30% of 1,50,000, 30% of 50,000. Then earning after taxes will be your rupees 1,05,000 in plan A, rupees 35,000 in plan B, and 50,000 in plan C, minus 50,000 in plan C. Now number of shares in plan A it is 3 lakh, plan B it is 2 lakh, and in plan C it is 1 lakh. So earning per share in plan A it is 0.35, in plan B it is 0.175, and in plan C it is nil. So here we can see that with the increase in the debt, the company is actually incurring a losses. Why? Because the rate of return is less than the rate of interest that we are paying. So in this example, with an increase in debt, the company is actually incurring a losses. The rate of return is 5%, is lesser than the cost of debt. This is an unfavorable financial leverage that increases the financial risk. So we have seen that with the increase in the proportion of debt, the shareholders tend to increase, their earning per share tends to increase, but the rate of return should be higher than the cost of debt that we are paying. So to sum up, we have started today the capital structure, that is the mixture of debt and equity. Then we had discussed two important terms, that is financial leverage, which is the proportion of debt in the overall capital structure, and trading on equity, that is the increase in profit earned by the equity shareholders due to the presence of fixed financial charges like interest. And we had also discussed two examples wherein we had taken various situations, and we have seen that in example 1, where the rate of return is higher than the cost of debt, with the increase in the proportion of debt, the company or the earning per share tends to increase. And in example 2, where the rate of return is less than the cost of debt and cost of debt is higher, so with the increase in the proportion of debt, the company or the earning per share tends to increase, and in plan C it is nil. So it is a condition of unfavorable financial leverage. So I hope you understood the topic. Please read it from NCERT also. Thank you so much.